Most men think stopping the performance is the finish line. You get honest with yourself. You stop managing the gap. You stop pretending and you think, okay, now things get easier. And then life, it hands you something you did not expect. It gets harder before it gets better. The pushback comes from places you did not see coming. The relationships, they shift in ways you did not plan for, and you have to face a version of yourself that is harder to hide from than the old one ever was. This episode is about what actually happens when you stop pretending, not the inspirational version, the honest one. And I'm going to tell you what it cost me to maintain the pretense and what it cost me to let it go. So here's where we're going with all of this. First, the hidden cost, the thing pretending was doing to me on the inside that I didn't even notice until it stopped. Second, what the pretense actually trained me to do and how some of those reflexes stayed even after the pretending stopped. And third, what changes when you stop, specifically who you start to pull toward and who you stop tolerating. And fourth, the honest truth about what is waiting on the other side, the part nobody's talking about. So I'm Kirk Taylor, and let's go. The obvious cost of pretending is that people do not really know you. That part I understood eventually. But the quiet cost, the one I did not see until it was gone, was something else entirely. It kept me from engaging, not just from being known, from engaging at all. Here's what that actually looked like. I would meet someone new and I would be friendly, genuinely friendly. That part was real. And sometimes they would want to connect. They would suggest doing something. They would reach toward me. And then I would pull back in the most awkward way because I didn't want to get too close. I didn't want to know them, and I didn't want them to know me too much. The warmth I had already shown made the retreat uncomfortable for both of us. I had invited them just enough to make the exit awkward. And I would move forward cautiously after that, miss the next opportunity, pull back again, and it became a reflex. The pretense built a wall, and the side effect of the wall was that nobody could actually get to me, and I could not actually get to them. That is not just loneliness. That is a kind of social paralysis that you get so used to carrying that you stop noticing the weight. I'm more introverted by nature. I prefer one-on-one over crowds. I recharge alone. That's just wiring. But the pretense took the natural tendency and it added a layer of anxiety that was on top of that. What was a preference for depth became a fear of closeness. The awkwardness has crept slowly away. But I want to be honest with you, it still shows up sometimes. The difference now is that I can name it, I know what it is, and I do not let it run the room the way it used to. So here's something nobody tells you about long term: pretending. It trains you. You spend years managing perception, reading rooms, monitoring temperatures, calculating how much of yourself is safe to show, and your brain gets very good at all of it. Those become skills, reflexes, and they do not just disappear when the pretending stops. I still pay attention to the temperature in the room. I still notice where things are heading before other people do. And people tend to be pretty transparent about their next moves if you have learned to watch for them. The difference now is what I do with that information. When I used to notice misalignment, when I could see that a room, a relationship, a situation was not going where I needed it to go, I would stay and perform alignment I did not feel. I would manage it, smooth it over, pretend everything was fine. I don't do that anymore. Now, when I find myself in a place where my position doesn't matter, where my presence is not welcome on honest terms, I just leave. Not in anger, not dramatically. I just go, I wash my hands, and I move on. No bitterness, no residue, just a clean exit. That is the opposite of pretending. Pretending would be staying and performing. What I've learned to do instead is recognize the mismatch early on and not waste myself on it. I am also becoming more selective about when I speak. I used to be quick to respond, quick to defend my position, quick to make sure my voice was heard, and I'm slowly learning that not everything is worth the breath. Some conversations are not worth the energy, and staying quiet in those moments is not weakness, it's discernment. The skills the pretense built did not have to be wasted. They just needed to be redirected. When you stop pretending, something interesting happens to your relationships. You start gravitating toward a very specific kind of person. People who tell it like it is, who say what they mean when they really mean it, who are open to pushback, real pushback, not just nodding and waiting for you to finish. People who will stand up and own their position without wavering and do it with respect. People who are willing to have a real discussion, not just a negotiation where they expect you to roll over. You start noticing those people quickly and you start losing patience with the alternative. The reason is simple. Once you stop performing, you stop tolerating spaces that require you to perform. It is not a rule you make, it's just a natural consequence. You have spent years paying the cost of that kind of relationship, and you're no longer willing to pay it. The other thing that happens is that you start to get clearer about your own standards. You start gravitating toward honesty in others because you became that kind of person first. You did not set out to build a filter. You just became someone who does not perform, and as a result, you naturally pulled toward people who do not perform either. That is a real and lasting shift, and it is one of the things that makes what is on the other side worth the trip. Here's what I wish someone had told me before I started. It's going to get harder before it gets better. You might think that when you start to change, the people around you will embrace it. You might expect applause or at least relief. And finally, you're being real. Finally, they can see you clearly. That is not what happens. Not always, not even usually. When you change, the people around you have not changed. And your change makes them uncomfortable. Not because they want to hurt you, but because your growth is a mirror. And a lot of people do not want to look at what's in that mirror. Some will drift away. The connection severs because you are no longer in the same place. And you're not willing to move. If they are, you grow together, but if they're not, the relationship cannot hold the new weight. Some will push back harder than that. They will try to pull you back down to where you were, not out of cruelty, out of fear. Your change threatens the arrangement they were comfortable with, so they attack it. And then there are the people who simply do not believe you. They knew the old version. They have filed you under that version, and no matter what you do, they are not updating that file. They will not give you credit for the change. They will not give you the chance. You have to make peace with that. You cannot be controlled by what people believe about who you used to be. But here is the one that surprised me most. The hardest pushback, it's internal. You are the last one to see your own change. You're still operating on an old picture of who you are while the people around you have already updated theirs. You'll be further along than you think you are, and you'll not know it for a long time. I had a man come up to me not long ago, someone I'd been walking alongside for over a year. He told me that he's finally seeing his recovery, finally seeing what I had been telling him was there all along. He said he thought I was just being nice. He thought I was seeing something that was not real. He knows now. That's how this works. The man in it does not see it yet. The people watching can see it before he can, and eventually, if he keeps going, he catches up to what they already know. So when you are deep in the middle of the harder part, when the pushback is coming from people you did not expect, when you are not sure the change is even real, I want you to hear this. Keep going. You are further along than you think. And what is waiting on the other side does not look like what you imagine. It is better than that, and it's more honest than that. It just does not look like the way you thought it would. Living without pretending is not a destination, it's a daily practice. Some days you show up fully honest, some days the old reflexes will come back. The difference is that you know what they are, you can name them, and you do not have to let them run the room. The wall comes down slowly. The awkwardness, it fades. The right people get closer, the wrong ones drift, and somewhere in the middle of all of it, you realize you are more yourself than you have ever been in a long time. And that is worth the hard part. If you're in the middle of the harder part right now, I see you. Just keep going. If this landed for you, hit subscribe. New episodes in the Steady Man series drop regularly, and everyone builds on the last. And if you're new here, this is episode 38, so start wherever you are. The series is designed so you can drop in anywhere and still get something real. Leave a comment, tell me where you are in your life, and if you're still pretending, or where you used to be and what finally changed. I read everyone and do it one day better.